Be honest. Do I look real? I can be wherever I want and wear whatever I want. The secret? MindStudio AI. It's crazy. I'm literally the result of pure automation.
Yeah, and here's the crazy part. She's fully automated. If you're building an AI influencer the hard way, you're burning the one thing creators can't scale: time. Imagine your AI influencer generating real, high-quality content while you sleep, posts, clips, ready to publish. In this video, I'm walking you through my complete AI influencer automation workflow inside MindStudio AI, step by step. From creating a super realistic influencer to building a self-running content engine, a system that generates images and video clips on repeat using your main influencer image as the core reference and pulling fresh ideas from a Google Sheet. With everything delivered straight to your inbox automatically while you sleep. And if you want to follow along, the link's down below. If you decide to jump in, use my code. You'll get a free month to mess around with it and see what you can build. Let me show you exactly how this automation works. When you first log into MindStudio AI, you're going to see your main workspace. This is where your history, your plan details, and your usage balance live. Now, here is a massive advantage that I really need to highlight. With most other automation tools, you have to deal with your own hosting and go through the headache of managing individual API keys. That usually means you end up with 5 different bills for every different model you want to use. What I love about MindStudio is that it completely removes all of that friction. You don't need to be a developer to handle hosting or APIs. You just load your balance, pick the model you want, and start building. It honestly feels like automation made for creators, not engineers. All right, let's get into the fun stuff. To start, I click the New Agent button. It takes you to a welcome page, and I highly recommend checking out the MindStudio University link there. It's a great resource that breaks down how to build these automations and explains what every single block does. I'm going to close that for now and give my AI agent a name. Let's go with AI Influencer Content Engine. Sounds pretty solid, huh? On the left, you'll see the Explorer tab. This is your command center where you'll find all the resources and tools used to build out your agents. What you're seeing on the screen right now are the blocks that connect to form the workflow. Essentially, an AI agent is just a series of logical steps or instructions that perform a task. The first one is the Start block. For this demo, I set it to On Demand, but if you wanted to make this truly hands-off, you'd set it to Scheduled. That way, the AI literally creates your content while you're asleep. Think of it like this. If a real-life influencer is running a brand campaign, they have a workflow. They do the photo shoot, they record the video, they edit, and they post. In MindStudio, each of those steps is a block, and the sequence of those blocks is the workflow. To get started, I added a Generate Image block to create the influencer you saw at the beginning of the video. This is where you put your prompt, name your file, and choose your model. I've actually put the exact prompt I used in a Google Doc linked in the description, so you can just copy and paste it like I did. You need to save it under a specific name. In MindStudio, we call this an output variable. We need this because we're going to reference this specific image in other blocks later on. One quick tip: if you use 2 words for your variable name, make sure you connect them with an underscore. Now, let's talk about the models. MindStudio gives you access to the best ones on the market, but the one you choose depends on the look you're going for. Again, the best part is not having to connect separate APIs or pay different companies. You get total transparency on the price of each model right there. You've got Google, ByteDance, OpenAI, all the heavy hitters. Personally, I went with Nano Banana Pro. It's incredible for this because it lets you use multiple reference images and generates results in 4K resolution, which is exactly what you need for that ultra-realistic influencer look. I set the aspect ratio to 16:9, kept the history enabled so I can see my progress, and turned off the watermark for a clean look. A pro tip for when you're building: always test each block as you go. It's way easier to fix a tiny mistake now than to troubleshoot a giant workflow later. I just clicked Test Block, then Run, and boom, there is the image of my influencer. Moving on, I went to All Blocks and grabbed the Fetch Google Sheet block. This sheet is going to hold all the links for my reference images and video clips. I just clicked Connect to link my Gmail account. My sheet is super simple, just 2 columns. I went over to Pinterest to find some inspiration. When I found an image I liked, I just right-clicked, chose Copy Image Address, and pasted that link into the sheet. I did this for about 5 references. Just make sure your links end in a standard format like .jpg. For the video clips, I did some trial and error and found that short clips, about 10 seconds long, work best. You want them to be relatively small files, maybe 10 to 20 megabytes. I tried using Google Drive, but it wasn't playing nice with the automation, so I found a workaround using a storage site that gives me direct .mp4 links, so I created an account. And once I was inside, I went to Storage and Databases, then Object Storage, and then Overview. Here you'll see your folders, or what they call buckets. So let's create a new one. I clicked Create Bucket, gave it a name, and that's it. Next, I just dragged a clip of me dancing into that bucket. Finally, I went into Settings and hit Enabled. Once I had those links in the Google Sheet, I made sure to clear the formatting and set the sharing permissions so anyone with the link can access it. Now, I want to give you some honest advice here. Always aim to create original content. Don't just make mass-produced, low-value stuff. Use these references for inspiration and motion transfer. For example, you can film yourself doing a trending dance or movement and then transfer that exact motion to your influencer. It makes the content feel way more authentic. After testing that the sheet was connecting correctly, I added a run function block. I wrote a little bit of code for this that takes those links and turns them into a JSON array. Basically just a structured list. You'll see why we need a list in just a second. I named the function and kept the rest of the settings as they were. Here is where the magic happens. Usually, I just create one influencer image at a time, but I want this system to generate a unique result for every single link in my Google Sheet. To do that, I need to create a sub-workflow using the Run Workflow block. This allows you to break your processes down into smaller, repeatable pieces. In this case, it's going to run an iteration for every link on the list. I created a new workflow, which I'll call Forge, to keep it separate from the main Genesis workflow. In the Start block of this new workflow, I enabled Launch Variables. This is how the sub-workflow receives information from the main one. I need to bring over 4 things: the base image of my influencer, the video clip links, the image links, and a variable called Type so the AI knows if it's making a post or a reel. Back in the main Genesis workflow, I configured the Run Workflow block. I selected the Forge workflow and told it to run multiple times. For the iterator, I chose that JSON list we created earlier. Then I set it to run in sequential mode so it generates the results one at a time. Personally, I found it really helpful to enable Ignore Failed Runs because, as you probably know, Nano Banana Pro can be a bit sensitive with certain types of content. And I'd rather the automation just skip a glitch and keep moving rather than stopping the whole process. Finally, I mapped the variables from the main workflow to the sub-workflow. So, if I want to use the base image of my influencer, do you remember what I saved it as in this workflow? I saved it under the name AI_influencer. Now, for the AI to use each clip link from my Google Sheet, you'll notice that the function I created stores them as source_link, which refers to both video clip links and image links. It also classifies each link under a different type, either clip or post. Here's where it gets interesting. Since we can have more than one link, I need to tell the AI to treat each link as a separate item. So I opened brackets and wrote item.source_link. I did the same thing to extract each reference image link. Lastly, I also mapped the type variable. That's how I configured this block. Now the only thing left is to set up the end block. All I did there was save the results under the name you see on screen. Now let's look at the sub-workflow. The first thing I did was add a logic block right after the start. Every time the AI picks up a new link, this block decides, is this an image or a video? I've included the specific logic conditions in the Google Doc for you. Just remember that AI is case sensitive. So if your type variable starts with a capital letter in one place, it needs to be the same everywhere. Makes sense? This is the part I'm really excited about because I'm going to show you how to create 2 separate branches. One branch handles images and the other handles reels. Both branches will end by emailing the finished content directly to my phone. For the image branch, I added a generate image block. I used the prompt from my doc and saved the result as final_asset. For the reference images, I used the base influencer image and the inspiration link from the Google Sheet. I set it to 9:16 for Instagram, 4K resolution, and no watermark. Then, I added the Send Gmail block. You just connect your account, put in your email address, and set the message type to HTML. I used a template that includes the original inspiration image and the final AI result so I can compare them. Then, I just linked the logic block to this image branch. You see what I mean? It's all about creating a path for the data to follow. Now for the Reels branch. First, I used a block called Get Image from Video Frame. I pointed it to the video link and told it to grab a frame at the 0.1 second mark. I avoid the 0-second mark because sometimes it's just a black screen. Once I had that frame, I asked Nano Banana Pro to generate an image of my influencer in that exact same pose. Next, I added a Generate Video block. This is where we transfer the motion from the reference clip to our influencer. I used the Kling 3.0 model, specifically the Edit feature. I used the original clip for the motion and the image we just generated as the visual reference. I kept the watermark off and chose whether or not to keep the original audio. Finally, I added the Send Gmail block and configured it just like the previous one. The only difference was updating the HTML content with the version from the Google Doc. Then I connected all the blocks again, and inside the logic block, selected this branch. To configure the end block, I simply added 2 variables by copying the information from the Google Doc. Once I had both branches built, I cleaned up the layout so it looked organized. I clicked Publish to save everything, then ran it through the debugger. And just like that, the results started hitting my inbox. And just as a quick clarification, I personally prefer receiving the results in my Gmail so I can upload them manually to Instagram. I'll usually add trending audio, make a few basic edits using the app Edits, and test different posting times. That way, I can optimize performance and grow my audience more strategically. That human touch combined with this automation is the secret to growing fast. I've got some great news for you. You can actually try this exact workflow for free. I've left a link in the description where you can create a copy of it. Plus, if you use my coupon code, you'll get a free month of the MindStudio individual plan, which is normally valued at $20. And also keep an eye on their social media because they do hackathons and promotions all the time where you can win cash prizes or free plans. Alright you guys, AI automation is a total time saver and a money-making machine if you use it right. A huge thank you to MindStudio for making this video possible and to you for watching. To be clear, everyone's results are going to be different. This video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Like any real business, this takes actual work, consistency, and a solid strategy. The difference between the people who are going to see massive growth in the next few years and the ones who get left behind is simply who decides to automate first. Today, you saw how to build a system that works for you. And the best part is, you don't have to start from scratch. I'm giving you my automation ready to go. You just duplicate it, tweak it for your own influencer, and you're set. You've got a $20 coupon to try the individual plan for an entire month for free. So, really, the question isn't whether it works. The question is, are you going to try it now? Or are you going to look back in 6 months when everyone else is already using it? This is the best time to get in, before the market is saturated. Go check out MindStudio AI, start experimenting, and start automating. I'll see you at the next level. Peace out.